Hi, and welcome to the Knittervention. I'm Erin White, and I'm going to be going over how to do the Garter Tab Cast On for the Celtic Coast Shawl. The Garter Tab Cast On for the Celtic Coast Shawl is a rather large Garter Tab Cast On. It is a 9-stitch by 19 row Garter Tab Cast On that will be large enough and wide enough to handle a 3x3 garter stitch border with a 2x2 left cross and right cross cable along the top of the shawl, and will also be wide enough to handle the 15-stitch braid that you see down the center of the shawl. So I'm going to be going over this part of the shawl right now. Cast on 9 stitches. I also have 4 stitch markers here, because as soon as I'm done with this, first thing that I'm going to do before I end this video is go through the stitch marker placement for the Celtic Coast Shawl. And then the next video is also going to be with this yarn, and I'm going to go over the right cross and left cross cables, as well as the 5x5 center braid cable. All right, so we're going to take the yarn and we are going to create that slip knot, and we're going to cast on 9 stitches. So here I'm using a worsted weight yarn with the size 7 needles. For the Celtic Coast Shawl, it will be size 6 needles and fingering weight yarn. So we're going to go ahead and cast on those 9 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. All right, from here, we are going to knit 19 rows. So I'm going to go ahead and knit the first row, and then I'm going to pause this video and come back on the 18th row. So that way we're not sitting here watching me knit 19 rows of exciting Garter Tab Cast On adventures. All right, so we're back. I'm getting ready to knit row 19 on the Garter Tab Cast On. So we're going to go ahead and get through this. And then for the Garter Tab Cast On, what we will end up doing, if you've never done one before, because it's a little bit confusing to read the directions in the pattern for Garter Tab Cast On, and I know that the first several shawls that I did called for a Garter Tab Cast On, but because I didn't understand the instructions and I didn't have the wherewithal to to look up how to do a Garter Tab Cast On, what ended up happening with my shawls is, you can see I kind of had this little bit of a divot or a U, which is what the Garter Tab Cast On prevents from happening. So you can see if I were to lay this out, you have that U shape right there, whereas with a Garter Tab Cast On, it creates a straight edge. So that is why Garter Tab Cast Ons are important for knitting shawls. So what we're going to do here is, after you finish the 19th row, so you have your 9 stitches on the needle, we're going to turn your needle 90 degrees, and then we're going to pick up 19 stitches along the 19 rows we just did, and then when we get to the end, we're going to turn the needle 90 degrees a second time, and then we're going to pick up the 9 stitches along here. So it is going to be very twisted, and it is not the most graceful thing to try to go through. So I am going to go through and work on this now. So I'm going to pick up 19 stitches along the edge here. And then when we're done, we'll have a total of 37 stitches on this garter tab cast on. When I go through and do it, I know that there is a method to doing garter tab cast on where there's like, you pick up so many stitches per row. For my pattern, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't necessarily have to be pretty. And if there are any gaps that you find in your garter tab cast on after you finished it, when you go to weave in this loose end right here, what I've done in the past for other projects that I've worked on, when I weave this in, I actually go through and I kind of mend any open holes that I find in my garter tab cast on with the long tail to kind of mask it or disguise it. And if anybody is really looking that close at a garter tab cast on and mentions it, then in my opinion, they no longer get any knit things from me. All right, so got my 9 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I'm going to turn and I'm going to start picking up 19 stitches along this edge. So and it might be a little bit difficult. All right, so there is stitch number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. All right, so now we have the one edge and then we have the long edge. So as you can see, it's starting to get a little bit twisted, and then we're going to turn our needle 90 degrees again, and we're going to pick up the 9 stitches that are along here. So we're going to be going under and picking up the stitches 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Go ahead and get this started. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And there we go. We have our 37 stitch garter tab cast on to start the Celtic Coast Shawl. And as you can see, it forms that nice straight edge right there. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to go through and do the placement of the 4 stitch markers that are needed to know where the increases are for your Celtic Coast Shawl. So when you start off knitting, this is actually going to be the wrong side right here. So we're going to start off by knitting 4, 2, 3, 4, purling 4, and these 4 purled stitches on the other side will be the 2x2 right cross and left cross cables on the right side. And then we're going to knit 1, and then we're going to place our first marker here. We're going to knit 1 and then place our second marker. So between these 2 markers will be the first panel, and that's knit. We're going to knit 1, and then we're going to purl 15, and those 15 stitches will become the 15 stitch center braid down the center. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, knit 1, and make sure that I didn't miscount anything. So knit 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, knit 1, great. Place our third marker, knit 1, place our last marker, knit 1, purl 4, and this purl would be the 2x2 right cross, and then knit 4. And with that, we have done the garter tab cast on and the setup row with the markers for creating the rest of our Celtic Coast Shawl. The next video that I will go over will be how to do the 2x2 right cross and left cross cables, as well as how to do the make one right and make one left stitch increases to create the nice triangular shape that the shawl will take. And I will see you next time.